start with, I will explain about two primary sources for the event in movie Gladiator, which is Colosseum as a historical building, and the concept that related to the movie is about slavery. Colosseum used to be as part of an imperial effort to revitalize Rome. Patron intended the Colosseum to be an entertainment venue, which is hosting gladiator fights, animal hunts, and even mock naval battles. So the Colosseum had a complex system of underground tunnels and chambers called the Hypogeum, which housed gladiators, animals, and machinery for special effects. So in fact, the Colosseum was used for over 500 years, and its construction in AD 80 until the 6th century AD. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the Colosseum was used for other purposes such as for cemetery and a fortress. So Colosseum is really exists as numerous visitors to the historic site of the Colosseum. For the second one is slaves, which is so in the movie Gladiator, Maximus becomes a slave after he is captured by slavers. So the slavers find him in the Spain, where he has gone to bury his family after they are killed by Commodus, the new emperor of Rome. Maximus is injured and exhausted. Also, Maximus becomes a slave to protect his right arm and to comes up with his revenge after the death of his wife and son.
Next, we move on to the strength of the Gladiator movie as historical evidence. The first strength is Gladiator. Gladiator is one of the games of death that the people of Rome enjoy as entertainment. From the movie's point of view, the gladiatorial contest held in the Colosseum. The people of Rome watched the contest as they were shouting and screaming for the gladiators. It was usually participated by slaves, criminals, and prisoners of war. This is the same goes where Maximus, the main character, becomes a slave and participated in the gladiatorial contest. Powerful men invest in gladiators and gladiator schools. It is almost the same as people today, where they invest in football play and the players have their own training for the competition. Hence, this movie can be a historical evidence where the gladiatorial contest really happened in the past. The second strength of the movie is the ruling of Commodus. Commodus ascends to the throne after his father, Marcus Aurelius, died. From the movie, it shows the behavior of Commodus is selfish and full of tyranny. This is the same goes as the real Commodus, where many people criticize him because of his narcissistic and erotic behavior. His brutal misrule caused severe strife that ended 84 years of prosperity and stability within the Rome Empire. This shows that the ruling of Commodus was really bad during that time.
The first witness in this movie is the death of Marcus Aurelius. In this movie, the witness is the truth of the death of Marcus Aurelius is wrong. As we know, Commodus was a very different ruler who abandoned his father's policy and principles like more cruel. So the movie shows how cruelly Commodus murdered Marcus by hugging his father tightly on the chest after he knows that his father will not give him the throne. Therefore, Commodus declared the Marcus died while sleeping, but in real events, we even didn't know how cause of death Marcus Aurelius. It will be possible if we say that Commodus murdered his father to get the throne, but there is no evidence. Therefore, in this movie, just an inaccurate story for purpose to be more dramatic. Some even speculate that he was poisoned by his son or his enemies who want to seize power or end his war. So, in a nutshell, Commodus didn't actually murder his father. The character of Maximus, did you know that actually the character of Maximus is not real? It's just a fiction. Maximus have a basis in historical figures such as Narcissus, Cincinnatus, and Spartacus. Maximus is inspired by figures such as the wrestler Narcissus, who was the killer of Commodus. Therefore, the weakness is the inaccurate historical events when Commodus fought with Maximus and then both of them will die. But in real events, they never had a fight because Maximus didn't exist.
Okay, so we move to test the credibility and consistency about this movie. So, we discovered that this movie is not credible because certain events and characters are fictionalized, and it is also having the element of exaggerated for entertainment purposes. For example, Marcus Aurelius not that killed by his son, Commodus, but he died in Antonine plague. In addition, the character of Maximus is fictionalized. Next, for the consistency, we discover that there are some elements in this movie that are not consistent based on real historical events. For example, the chariot race that take part during the Gladiator game is not accurate. Most of them is the different form of entertainment in ancient Rome. They were separate event. Therefore, the combination of chariot race and gladiator game at the Colosseum scene in the movie shows the inconsistency element because it combines two different forms of entertainment that will not occur together in real Roman arena.
The film showcased the Colosseum in Rome as the primary arena for gladiatorial combat. Corroboration involves comparing the movie's portrayal of the Colosseum's architecture, seating arrangements, and arena layout with archaeological findings and historical descriptions of the Colosseum and other ancient Roman amphitheaters. This can help determine the accuracy of the film's depiction of the physical space where gladiatorial game took place. The concept of chariot with spinning blades in the movie Gladiator is considered an anachronism because such a weapon was not historically accurate for the time period depicted in the film, which is ancient Rome. Chariots were used primarily for transportation and warfare, but the inclusion of spinning blades is more characteristic of a later period or a different cultural context. It's a fictional element added for dramatic effect rather than being historically accurate.
One historical fact that I discovered is about slavery activity in ancient Rome. Slavery played an important role to ancient Rome, such as in economic growth, labor force, and agricultural. Slavery activity occurred in everywhere, such as in the city, the countryside, and the ownership was not limited to the elites. In the movie, slavery occurred because of conquest and spoil of war. It all started when Commodus found out about his father's wish to Maximus, which is become the new emperor of Rome due to his skills on war. Commodus was angry and decided to execute Maximus. Unfortunately, Maximus survived and decided to return to his home in order to meet his wife and son, but sadly they have been killed. Despondent Maximus is then captured and sold into slavery and forced into servitude as a gladiator. One implication of slavery activity to the world is slavery reinforced social division among the social classes. This will lead to inequality such as different treatment based on title. From my personal point of view, one lesson that can be learned from this event is the authority need to combat systemic oppression and exploitation. It is because Rome's culture about slavery activity resulted in injustice for millions of people. Therefore, when there is no slavery, individual will get treated with dignity and full of respect. To sum up, one example of secondary sources related to this event is British Museum. For you guys' information, British Museum is a public museum dedicated to human history, art and culture. Its permanent collection of 8 million works is the largest in the world.
One historical fact that was shown in the Gladiator movie is the Marcomannic Wars. In the winter of 180 Anno Domini, Emperor Marcus Aurelius' 12-year campaign against the barbarian tribes in Germany was drawing to an end. One reason that leads to Marcomannic Wars is primarily because of migration processes. So, this war involves the Roman versus the Germanic tribes. The Germanic tribes was mainly led by the Marcomannic, Sarmatian and Gudi. The Germanic tribes invades Rome because the local people was displaced by the Gothic invaders by needing a new territory that invade the rich lands of the Roman Empire. Moreover, from the Marcomannic Wars, there is one implication of historical event that impacts the world history. During the ruling of Marcus Aurelius, he wrote a philosophy book which entitled Meditations, that consists a timeless collection of personal reflections to self-understanding and nature of universe. This impacts in intellectual history, where major intellectual figures examines the ideas and thoughts of the past. One lesson that can be learned from the Marcomannic Wars is the leadership of the Roman emperors. From the Marcomannic Wars, we know that Marcus Aurelius is a great emperor. It also shows that he wants to uphold the justice and maintain the peace in the empire from the invaders. One secondary source that can be related with the Marcomannic Wars is a book that entitled Galen and the Plague. This book was written by Rebecca Fleming. This book is related with the war because Galen, which is a great physician during that time, participated in Marcomannic Wars. He wrote about the Antonine Plague that happens and spread it in the war during that time. Thus, this illustrates that remarkable many wars had happened in the past.
One historical fact from this movie is the enjoyment of death games, which includes gladiator combats, chariot racing, ritualized executions, and animal hunts. In summary, the gladiatorial games were a complex blend of entertainment, skill, and cultural significance. The main reason that led to the historical event of Gladiator is Romans enjoyed death in sports due to the complex interrelationship of power, camaraderie, high mortality rate, prestige, and social order. Watching gladiators risk their lives in the most horrific ways was something that entertained the Romans. Most of the gladiators were foreigners who were prisoners or criminals. They were barely considered human. Historians believe that Romans blood sports helped encourage camaraderie among the people. Bringing exotic animals from different parts of the world also entertained the masses. So why would Romans enjoy death as a sport? So the answer is they lies in the complex interrelationship of power, prestige, and social order. The first consequences is in terms of social dispassionate. So the popularity of gladiatorial combat normalized violence and death. Citizens, including children, witness brutal fights regularly that will lead them to be influenced and will impact to their psychological effect like mental. One example of other historical sources that related to the movie is Well Those About to Die letter titled The Way of the Gladiator, written by Daniel P. Manitz, inspired the initial screenplay draft and explores the world of gladiators. Last but not least, one lesson that can be learned from the event is the fragility of freedom. Gladiators fought for their lives and rights, often as slaves or prisoners of war. So the concept of yearning liberty through combat underscores the importance of individual agency and the fight for autonomy.
Gladiators were professional fighters in ancient Rome who engaged in combat as a form of entertainment. Gladiatorial games were a prominent feature of Roman society, held in the famous arena which is the Colosseum in Rome. Gladiators came from various backgrounds, including slaves, prisoners of war, and volunteers seeking fame and fortune. They were trained in specialized combat technique and fought with a variety of weapons such as swords and shields. Gladiators were admired for their bravery and skill, and successful fighters could gain fame, wealth, and even freedom through their performance in the arena. However, the life of a gladiator was harsh and dangerous. Desire for power. Commodus is depicted as consumed by a lust for power and a desire to be worshipped as a god. He sees himself as above the law and willing to do whatever it takes to maintain his position. Commodus also surrounded by advisors who manipulate him for their own gain. This political intrigue further destabilized his reign and contribute to fear and uncertainty in Rome. Commodus' bad role in the movie Gladiator is the depiction of the decline of the Roman Empire. Commodus' bad rule characterized by corruption and political intrigue reflected a broader decline in Roman society and institution in the last year of the empire. The film portrays Commodus as a symbol of decline because of his actions contribute to the erosion of public trust in the government, the collapse of social order, and increased instability and disorder in the empire. Overall, the portrayal of Commodus' bad role in Gladiator movie offers insight into the historical context of the decline of the Roman Empire and its implications for the broader themes of power, corruption, and resistance throughout history. Commodus' bad rule, characterized by corruption, selfishness, and cruelty, leads to widespread suffering and instability within the Roman Empire. The portrayal of Commodus serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of leaders who prioritize their own desires and interests over the welfare of their people. It highlights the need for leaders to exercise humility, empathy, and a sense of duty in their governance, and to uphold principles of justice, fairness, and accountability. Ultimately, Commodus' downfall in the movie underscores the idea that power gained through oppression and injustice is ultimately unsustainable and will eventually lead to ruin. The lesson from his reign is that true greatness and lasting legacy come from leadership that serve the common good and inspires trust, respect, loyalty among the people. Secondary source that related to historical event is books such as The Roman Empire's Biographical Guide to the Rulers of Imperial Rome by Michael Grant or The 12 Caesars by Suetonius provide insights into Commodus' reign.
Historical fact. The building of Colosseum. The Colosseum of ancient Rome was an iconic symbol of the magnificent city and a major center of entertainment and political activity for its citizens. It was a popular place for celebration and watch the event, which could range from execution to athletic competition. The Colosseum was also the site for a variety of other events such as lottery tournament and wild animal hunts. It was also used as a form of propaganda, with Emperor Titus using it to showcase his military might and wealth. One reason that led to the historical event is there was one plot when Lucilla had a hand in the plot to assassinate Commodus because Lucilla is dissatisfied with her brother, Commodus Khairil. She recognized his cruelty, ambition, and disregard for the well-being of Rome and its people. She secretly plots to overthrow Commodus and restore the Senate's authority. For implication of the historical event to the world history, the Colosseum stands today as a monument to ancient Rome's architectural and engineering prowess. It is also a major source of tourism revenue for the Italian government. Due to its engineering, the Colosseum has had a lasting impact on the world of architecture, with modern structure taking inspiration from its design. Even today, it remains an impressive feat of engineering and one of the most iconic attractions in Italy. One lesson that can be learned from the historical event is the Gladiator game used it for political intrigue, and social unrest sometimes even made these games a tool of propaganda, as they were seen by rulers as a way to quell any rebellion or discord between the citizens of Rome. The brutally and sheer spectacle of the Colosseum also gave a taste of the imperial power of Rome and made it much easier for the Caesar to keep the people in line and prevent any uprising. Therefore, as citizens, we cannot be blind to political intrigue happening in our country. We must be brave to resist any violation when rulers start to rule cruelly. One example of secondary source related to the historical event in this movie is a thesis called A Matter of Life and Death, Gladiatorial Games, Sacrificial Ritual, and Literary Allusions. It's a thesis written by Dziyaul Journal. In this study, Journal delved into the profound implication of Roman gladiatorial games beyond mere spectacles. She classifies these games as a form of ritual and communications, exploring their connection to funerary and sacrificial ritual, as well as their allusions to idealized representation of masculine virtue in Roman literature and native myths.